That's right, Zeke. Tell them feed you. Feed you. That's right. You held out. You stood your ground. And you got paid. Got yourself a deal that makes you the highest paid running back in the league. Total value of everything when everything is factored in. 6 years, $90 million, including the last couple of years of his rookie deal. $50 million in additional guaranteed money. Well played, Zeke. Well played. It's a business. Get yours while you can. You forced the Cowboys' hand. You called their bluff. And they ultimately went all in on you. And for that, sir, I salute you. Now, in terms of the Cowboys and the Ezekiel Elliott situation, this is a lot of money to pay a running back, which is a position that we all know has been incredibly devalued in the National Football League over the past decade or so. And few and far between are the true kind of bell cow backs, the guys that carry 25 plus times a game. You've seen more of a shift to multi-purpose backs, guys that might carry 15 times a game but have 6 to 8 receptions. You've seen a lot more backfield by committee. Part of that is just a natural function of running backs tend to wear down quicker than other positions in the league. By the time guys get to 29, 30, 31 years old, a lot of times they're pretty much cooked because their body has taken such a pounding. So it's understandable to a degree. But there's also an element of most championship teams, most championship contending teams, at some point in time need to be able to run the football. As much as the game changes, as much as it stays exactly the same. If you can run the ball and you can play great defense, you're always going to have a chance. And that's just the way it is. Now, you look at the Cowboys and you say, there are a lot of names that they had to get under contract. So far, they've gotten deals done with DeMarcus Lawrence. They've gotten deals done with Lyle Collins and Jalen Smith. They already have big money tied into their offensive line with Tyron Smith and Zach Martin and Travis Frederick. You still have to look at what you're going to do with Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper. There's going to get to a point in time where the Cowboys are going to repeat the salary cap hell that they had just started to emerge from, that they've been put into many years by Jerry overpaying too many guys that weren't worth nearly what they were getting paid. But the reality is the Cowboys are in a window right now, based off the way the pieces are lined up, that they have to try and go all in. So if that negatively impacts your salary cap in a couple of years, also thinking trying to lock up Byron Jones long term, you got some guys you still got to worry about. You kind of have to go for it. And if you're going to go for it, you must have Zeke. We've seen before what happens when Zeke is not in the lineup. We've seen before the impact that is felt when Zeke is not in the backfield. We also see and feel the impact when Ezekiel Elliott is in the backfield. While I understand the running back position has been devalued, and you'd be a little hard-pressed to want to sit there and tie huge money into a guy at that position, there is an element of, you look at this deal with Zeke, he's only, 24 years of age. You've added a bunch of years on there. You've basically covered all the rest of the peak years of his career under a contract. You may very well not have to do another one with him. Or even if you say 4 or 5 years down the road, he wants to do another deal and he wants more money. Now you're talking about a 27, 28, 29-year-old Ezekiel Elliott. You might be ready to move on from him at that point in time. But you had to do this, and you had to do this now. Especially when you talk about the investment that you made in the offensive line, it makes sense to protect that. A way to protect that is to have Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield. You talk about the future investment that they're eventually going to make in Dak Prescott. The best way to protect that is Ezekiel Elliott. Now, long term, you might be worried about, are you going to be able to keep Amari Cooper? Are you going to be able to keep Byron Jones? But you can kind of kick the can down the road a little bit on that and worry about that as it comes up. You don't have to worry about that now. But the simple fact of the matter is the Cowboys had to do this deal and they had to do it now. Now, long term, may they potentially regret it? Yes. You have tied yourself a very, very long time to Ezekiel Elliott. That could come back to bite him. But if you're the Cowboys right now and you're talking about potentially a 2 to 3 year window here of where you feel like you might have a chance to be able to make a real run at it, who gives a crap about year 4, year 5, year 6? You were worried about the next 2 to 3. And I think all of us can agree, guaranteed, that without Ezekiel Elliott, the Cowboys have no chance whatsoever, period. You could talk about, well, they'll bring this back. Ezekiel Elliott is a man. Ezekiel Elliott is a pure blue home run hitter, difference maker. Like, there are good backs, there are really good backs, there are great backs, and then there are special, potentially future Hall of Fame backs. Ezekiel Elliott, if you think about it, the 3 years of his career, he is trending down that path of truly special, franchise-level, Hall of Fame type of running back. I mean, who's going to argue that point? Like, the dude is a beast. The dude is a monster. The dude is a threat to take it to the house anytime he has the ball in his hands as a ball carrier and as a receiver. He's the guy that sets the tone. He's the guy that provides the attitude. He's the guy that provides the balance. He is the guy that is the building block for everything you want to do if you're the Cowboys on the offensive side of the ball. Ezekiel Elliott is more important to that Cowboys team than Dak Prescott. And I don't know that anybody questions that, but maybe they do. When you look at 2017 when Zeke was gone but Dak was there, how'd that go? How'd that look? We have relevant recent history to talk about this. Sometimes you can look at the future and say, that's in the future, and that's so far out there. Who the hell knows what's going to happen, and it's not even worth thinking about. Sometimes you're thinking, got to worry about the future long term. The Cowboys are not in a position right now where they should be thinking about 4, 5, 6 years down the road. If they were one of these teams that was in a tank mode or a rebuild mode, like if Ezekiel Elliott was doing his thing like this with the Miami Dolphins, just as an example, the Miami Dolphins would have no business at this point trying to pay him huge money. Why? Long term, you're going to want to build that team around a quarterback. Why would you pay Zeke all of this money at this point when you don't even know totally what the construction of your team's going to look like for the next few years? You don't know what type of pieces you're going to be able to bring to the table. It just wouldn't make sense. Like, for who the Cowboys are and where they're at this moment in time, they had no choice. They had to get this deal done, period. So I salute them for getting it done. You could say, well, is this going to open up a Pandora's box, or is this going to cause issue with other guys? There's always been issues with guys holding out before their contracts are up. It's the same type of deal with these contracts when teams still have money on the books for them, even if it's not guaranteed, and they cut these guys loose with 2 or 3 years left. Like, everybody get theirs and do what's best for them. Zeke did. The Cowboys and Jerry Jones backed down because they knew, as much as they want to talk that crap about, it might be nice not to have Zeke for all the games, so that way it's fresh for the playoffs. Well, you got to get there first. And you want to get there first, you really probably want to have Ezekiel Elliott in the lineup as much as you can for the entirety of the season, I'm just saying. So long term, there could be some ramifications and consequences. 4 or 5 years from now, this could look like a bad deal, especially if Ezekiel Elliott doesn't stop getting himself in bad situations and making stupid decisions off the field. I'll grant you that. But for right now, in this moment in time, giving them all that money down the road helps out for 2019 and 2020, and that had to be the concern for the Cowboys here. So I totally applaud them for backing down and feeding Zeke because they needed to. Because if they didn't have him, they really didn't have a chance, and you know it.